Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to go through the bandwidth growth that we have seen in recent years through the service provider industry in the UK and overall in the world. And we're going to look at some of the strategies, how to manage effectively the bandwidth and see how we're going to work with this ever growing exponential demand for the bandwidth. And some of the reasons for the bandwidth growth has been the rise of video streaming, social media sites, and gaming. These are the main areas that we've seen growth in last 5 to 8 years. We see that next Netflix, web streaming, social media streaming from operators as a TV channels now as bigger the ISPs. We see some of the big content media houses like Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, and these are the things that have basically increased the demand for the bandwidth as the whole bandwidth is media rich. And at the same time, we've seen the emergence of CDN providers likes of Akamai and CloudFront to work around some of the areas that challenges that have been present over the last few years. So with COVID-19 on top of that, because of work from home, we've seen a 40% increase in the bandwidth in the early part of 2020, and that has to some extent, maybe 30% of it is still around, and that looks to be a permanent change. And nowadays we see traffic peak at daytimes, and that we used to see in the evenings really. So that's one of the big challenges of nowadays. So let's take a look some of the areas of bandwidth growths have been the video content like Netflix, YouTube, and HTTP media streaming in general. Gaming, some of the biggest surges in traffic in recent years in the ISPs have been gaming updates, and as I said, the social medias likes of Facebook and Instagram. So if we look at the profile of a typical traffic through the service providers industry, we see that the 860% amounts for the video. If you look at the volume of traffic, and that's huge. Out of that, Netflix owns about 80% of the share. Give it take 1 or 2%. 18%, and other combined videos are 30%, and 12% out of it is just the share of YouTube and a Google related and content videos. So that's 60% is a huge proportion of traffic that is made of a video nowadays. So we look at some of the strategies that we can use to work around and to see how we can deal with the demand of bandwidth growth. So some of them are, for example, if we bring the caching engine more close to the end users. For example, if we have here the users, and if we bring them closer to the so the idea is bring the local caching closer to the end user. So when to reduce the saturation and give a better experience to end users. So the content media rich users, they all are nowadays as they come to use the internet service. The ISPs bring the caching close to end users, whether it's access or metro or aggregation node. So hence, not only reducing the pressure on these links, but also on the transit and the internet. So therefore, the media is delivered locally cached. So that's one of the idea that ISPs have been using in recent years. Now let's take a look at some of the others things that we discussing here. Is that one of the idea is to so let's take a look at some of the traffic profiles. So for example, Netflix have got their own Open Connect program. Similarly, Akamai caches, Amazon caches, and also Windows, Apple, and other CDNs combined and games. And so they are the Windows, Apple, and updates and other games have brought their networks onto the public cloud and CDN. So we already leveraging that, but bringing the Netflix Open Connect program and Akamai caches close to aggregation or access layer where end users are coming into the network will definitely reduce the pressure on the core links and towards the main transit and the internet traffic. Now, if we look at the some of the other ideas that we can use, for example, application service aware routers, we see that the Juniper MX960s has a sort of a application service modules in them, line cards in the routers where you can run a kind sort of a DNS service or a caching or a web proxy that is also close to the end user. So it's just a, for example, if you're running DNS service inside the routers, basically gives a quicker page retrieval time and faster in improving the user experience of the speed really. So that's one of the other ideas that is recommended for the bandwidth speed and bandwidth issues. Now, one of the other ideas is to drop the traffic into the public peering networks like likes of Akamai, Amazon, BBC, and Apple. They present in all the major public peering points. So basically, service providers at the aggregation layer instead of core bring the traffic, take the peering with the public peering areas where all the biggest content providers are available and drop the traffic directly into them instead of sending it out on the public internet through BGP link, through transit, and congesting that public routes. So this is one of the other ideas that has been tried very successfully in recent years by the service providers in the UK and all over the world. Let's take a look at some of the summaries. So basically what we're saying that the video traffic is a major cause of the bandwidth congestion in the internet at the moment, which is exponentially growing year by year. Currently, we see that Netflix is one of the biggest content provider, then followed by YouTube, and generally HTTPS streaming of other various types is also a big part of the traffic. TV operators are now jumping onto the internet, and obviously then finally there are live events and matches and big events, mega events causing a temporary surge in the traffic. And we've seen this story, for example, on 10th of August early this year, a major UK ISP reported that a Call of Duty update was around 50 gigabyte in size, and depending on whether it was downloaded by PlayStation, Xbox, or a PC user, a 60% week on week spike in daily traffic was reported by some of the biggest providers likes of Virgin Media and TalkTalk around that time, just because of the one update of Call of Duty. We see that in social media side of things, we have the largest uh, you know surge in, as we discussed before, in terms of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, and gaming updates. And as we said, just to recap, some of the solution is to caching close to the edges, caching at the aggregation layer, use of direct peering instead of IP transit, use of CDNs and private clouds to cache some of the biggest contents of the providers, and using things like application aware routers and devices in the networks to control that upsurge of demand of internet usage. I hope that this video has been informative, and I look forward to see you in the next videos. Thank you.